If I'm open, it's going up. And Kevin Love, he sort of has to adopt that to some degree.
Does he? Can he fit in that way? Because after a while, they'd be saying, hey, dude.
I'm telling you, real quick story. Back in the day, I'm covering the Sixers and Iverson. And Larry Brown is getting on Larry Hughes because they called Larry Hughes L Boogie. And he would just dance on you and do some things. But he was struggling in the playoffs against Orlando. And he made a mistake. And Larry Brown was getting ready to get all over him. Allen Iverson printed from one side of the court to the other, and before Larry Brown could get to Larry Hughes, he went up to Larry Hughes and covered both of his ears and walked them past Larry Brown. And he said, leave him alone. He's playing. Let him just play. And Larry was like, good point, and let it go. Because sometimes you got players that aren't strong-willed enough just to do their thing, and they have to be encouraged to be that way. I think to some degree that's Kevin Love in this situation. I didn't see that in Minnesota, but I think in this situation, that is Kevin Love.
Okay, so real last quick point. At the end of the locker room session post-game yesterday, Kevin Love was asked for the umpteenth time. I think it was by Dave McManaman, but it was unclear in Dave's report whether there were a couple of reporters standing there. One last time, is there any scenario in which you would leave after this year? And he flat out, Kevin Love, said no. Okay? Just for the record, I'm not going to buy that just yet. I think we got a long way to go.
I told you. I told you I'm not buying that. But I would say this: if he's definitive,
it was to L.A. It was to L.A. Yes.
If he's definitive in his yes, it's because of the money he's scheduled to get paid.
All right, Stephen. He had 74 touches last night. How many does he need to average to be?
I have no clue about that. To be quite honest with you, when I think about Kevin Love, it's pretty hard to gauge. I just know that his touches were down by approximately 10 a game from what it was last year, and that he's going to have to get used to that. He's going to have to be more proficient and accept the fact, look, Kevin Love, as good of a shooter as he is, has no business touching the ball more than LeBron James and Kyrie Irving. That's just a fact.
All right.
You have to get over that.
Last night he was 32-10 in Minnesota, averaging 26-12, 12.5 to be exact. Let's move on and stay in the league. Let's talk about Blake Griffin. He is out indefinitely because of a staph infection in his right elbow. The hits just keep coming for the Clippers, coupled with that 131-108 loss to the Thunder. Doc Rivers says the team is depleted and no one feels sorry for them. Top scorers last night for the Clippers, Jamal Crawford, Chris Paul, but without Blake Griffin, out-rebounded, 54-29. Take a look at their schedule. Now, we don't know how long Blake Griffin will be out, but according to Doc Rivers, he believes it might be as many as 10 games. It's not an easy haul over the next 15 games. 12 of the teams that they are up against are currently above 500. So, Stephen A., you're looking at that schedule. Again, we're hearing that he might be out only 10 days, not 10 games, but 10 days. We do not know. How much trouble are they in?
They're in a world of trouble. They're in a world of trouble, y'all. Skip, I can't say this enough. This team has been a colossal disappointment. I don't care about their record. I'm talking about how they look. They're very inconsistent. They appear nonchalant half the time. They strike no fear. They're very big on showmanship, the alley-oops, the fast breaks, Jamal Crawford boogieing on people the way that only he can, because this brother is an #1 Hall of Famer, for crying out loud. In terms of what he does on the NBA basketball court, he could just put on a show. But in the grand scheme of things, when you watch what's unfolding in the West with the teams that are there and the way that they play, you could easily see the Clippers getting bounced out in the first round. And I picked these boys to go to the finals as my preseason pick. Doesn't look that way now. They look very bad. And Doc Rivers is going to have to get it together. I think a move is needed desperately before the trading deadline. I think you need to acquire Ray Allen. Plus, you need to get a legitimate 3, unless you want to go small with Ray Allen at your 3. You just desperately need something like that. Spencer Hawes was supposed to be a welcomed addition. He's a 7-footer with perimeter shooting ability that could spread the floor and give them room to operate. The problem is Chris Paul, despite averaging 17 and nearly 10 a game in assists, okay, shoot 47% from the field, okay? I mean, when you look at this, I'm just saying to myself, Chris Paul has a better than 4-to-1 turnover, assist to turnover ratio. Yet and still, there's something missing. Why? Because he's worn down. You got to go up against these athletic guards in the Western Conference, whether it's Lillard and Westbrook, and Tony Parker hasn't even gotten loose yet, but he's coming. I mean, you see what, even though James Harden's not playing a point, you just see what's transpiring in Houston, the way he's carrying that team. Golden State with Steph Curry. You just look at a guy like Chris Paul. You don't have anybody to really spell for him either. So you got a hole and a backup at the 1. You got a hole at the 3 spot. And Spencer Hawes hasn't given you what he's capable of giving you, which means that what you got him to acquire him for, so he could be in there in the fourth quarter when DeAndre Jordan struggles from the free throw line, okay? You still got a big man presence up in there. You don't get that at all as well. And so right now, the Clippers have a couple of things they desperately need to do before the trading deadline. And if they don't do it, if they don't make some kind of move, they're not going. They may not get out of the first round. May not get out of the first round.
They might not make the playoffs.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm serious. I keep looking at this stretch that we just put up in the full screen. And I see 2 games that are winnable in the state they're in right now, and that'd be Sacramento and Minnesota at home, although Sacramento with DeMarcus Cousins, about whom we're going to speak later in this show, they're getting better and better and better. I'm not sure that's a gimme, and all the rest of them are very losable. So if you go through a stretch where you win 2 of the next 15 games, all of a sudden you're going to start getting in trouble in the West, because here comes New Orleans, here comes Oklahoma City. Phoenix is still trying to hang in there. I don't know, Stephen A., because Blake Griffin has a staph infection. It's very serious. This is serious business where it's almost, it starts to get close to life-threatening. You got to stop, man. You got to knock this thing out. And I don't know. Could it be 2 weeks? Could it be 3 weeks? You can't know about that yet, because it's very serious. J.J. Redick is fighting a back issue. Then we saw Big Baby get hurt yesterday with his back. I don't know how long he's going to be out, not that he was a huge contributor already. I liked what I saw from Spencer Hawes yesterday just because he got to play. He got to touch the ball. But with DeAndre Jordan trying to man the pivot for them yesterday, they were down early in the game in rebounds 29-11. Are you kidding me? So I liked what Kevin Durant said when CP3 made a jump shot later in the game.
20, dude.
Yeah, you're down by 20, homie. You are. You're down by 20. So don't be jawing with me. Kevin was on the bench, obviously. So I don't know about this. CP3's going to have to step up and be a huge. I know what you say. He gets worn down and beat up, and he's 6 feet tall, but he's going to have to play the best he can play to get them through this stretch. If Blake takes a while to get back on his feet.
The issue also is Spencer Hawes from this perspective, with Blake Griffin being down, Spencer Hawes with DeAndre Jordan. You're going to have to do something. They're not going to have much of a post-game presence in the fourth quarter, obviously. Those perimeter players are going to have to show up. Spencer Hawes is going to have to hit some shots. CP3, Jamal Crawford is going to have to play a huge role.
He might have to
Matt
start
Barnes
for a
is going to
while.
have to play above board. All of those things are true. But in the end, you're right from the perspective it can get dicey. But I still believe after that 15-game stretch, you still got about 15 to go. You still got about 15 to 17 to go.
Can get back
and you can get back. You can get back in business. So we'll see what happens. But it is getting a bit dicey. There is no question about that. And it just looks tough right now. And Doc Rivers is going to have to do something. It's the lethargic play that really resonates with me. They're getting, after making some noise, you go to Toronto, you get handled. You got a 15-point lead in the first quarter, lose by 15.
I think it was, what they have, 20?
I think it's 15, 20, and then come back and lose by as much.
Terrible.
You get annihilated in Oklahoma City yesterday. I'm just looking at them right now, and they just look lifeless. And it's one of those things, and I often say this, and trust me, I have learned to love Cali. Please don't get me. I have learned to really, truly love Cali. But I will tell you this. I always tell people, here's the difference between folks in New York, folks in Cali. In California, the sun will shine tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Don't matter what's going on. The weather's going to be beautiful tomorrow. Everything's going to be just fine. Just relax, right? And that's how the Clippers look.
That's
life is beautiful. It's really not a big deal. We'll be fine. Life is going to be all right. And that is not the attitude you can have in the Western Conference.
The sun ain't shining here today.
No,
not at all.
Hope you guys are safe.
Not at all.
That blizzard is something. Meanwhile, let's talk about what Doc Rivers said again. He just doesn't know when Griffin will return. 10 days to 6 weeks. That is the time frame in terms of him getting healthy and ready to play again. Coming up next, we will talk about one of the most successful coaches in basketball history. He's passed away. We will remember Coach Dean Smith on the other side of the break. Plus, there's a lot on our plate to start out the week, so stay tuned. When we head to break, we want you to check out our Instagram page. See the rundown for Monday. Leave your comments. We'll be right back in just a few moments.